Welcome to Survival Theory. Let's talk about fire, specifically matches and a lighter. Now, when I was a kid, we had matches and fire. We had no ferro rods. We didn't use flint and steel, although we learned those techniques. We learned the bow drill, things like that, but primarily we used matches or a lighter. And when I was younger, it was considered cheating to use a lighter. You were expected to use matches, and only one match at that. Now a lot has changed since then. Now ferro rods are pretty mainstream, almost trendy in some areas, but that's my preferred method, is the ferro rod. But that's my preferred method in a wilderness survival situation. But for your EDC, urban situations, you're probably better off with a lighter or matches, because you can skip many processes by going directly to flame, and it's a lot easier to carry one of these in your little EDC or emergency kit and use these than a ferro rod and having to use a knife to process wood, things like that. So let's talk about these two. Now the advantage of starting with the flame with matches or a lighter is you can bypass the bird's nest stage. You don't have to process bark or other materials to make tinder, because you're starting with the flame. You can go directly to small kindling, such as tiny sticks, dried grass. So get your base to keep everything off the ground. This is just some weeds that were growing. Pulled the stalks, kind of broke it up a little bit. Now, of course, the disadvantage to a match, it goes out very easily. So you want to avoid that, because matches are one use, and you can go through a book of matches pretty quick if you're not careful. Don't strike out here and then bring it to the flame, bring it to your fire area. Start it in your fire area. Also, be very mindful of the wind, because that is a match's worst enemy. Do whatever it takes to block that wind. Strike very close to the fire area. Put it underneath. And you've started your fire. Of course, you don't have to use grass or any of the other obvious things that would light up easily. Look on trees that are still standing, or dead trees that are still standing, and look for dead limbs with the tiniest twigs on them. These will burn longer and hotter than grass, but they can light just as easily. Some of these are actually thinner than the grass. Just gather a few of those. Sometimes you might want to put enough just to block the wind, even though you don't need that many to actually start the fire. And if you have a space, see right now the wind's blowing, so I'm going to want to build a shelter for the fire, but keep a space underneath to put the match, or to have the lighter reach into. Now I've got a little space in there to drop the match or hold the match underneath. Strike it close. And here comes the wind. It's well protected, so it should light. Lots of little tiny sticks. Keep it protected. Start adding a few sticks. Well, it's starting to rain and the wood's getting wet, but I've got a lighter, so I'm not really worried about it. Or maybe you're in an urban environment where there's just not that much tinder to get. You might find some furniture you can break up, some trim in a house. There just may not be that much tinder or kindling available to you. In an urban setting, you can find an accelerant, and since you're starting with an open flame, you can quickly dry out a small amount of material and get the fire going quickly. And I've stopped using my lighter. Now, one important thing to remember is your next fire. You may run out of matches, your matches might be wet, you might lose your lighter. You might have to depend on that spark method. So take some of this out of the fire. So that you have some charcoal for the next fire. That's going to start up a lot easier with just a spark. So yes, the lighter and the matches are often frowned upon by the survival and prepping community. However, great resources to have. The matches not so much, they're one-time use. I still carry matches just for nostalgia reasons. I have the stormproof matches in all my fire kits, but also have a lighter, multiple lighters. It's easy to throw 4 or 5 of these in a bag. They don't weigh much. You're going to get plenty of lightings off of them. Plus, they're always going to throw a spark even when the fluid's gone. And these are essential, especially in an urban bag or an EDC kit. You don't want to get a fire going instantly in some situations with the ferro rod. You're going to want a lighter. So now in a wilderness situation, you might want to preserve your lighter for desperate situations when you can't get anything started and maybe everything's too wet, or time is a very valuable resource. You need to get that fire started immediately, then go to your lighter. Thanks for watching Survival Theory. Please share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.